if this kid can do it, then why can't I? Right.
Yeah.
Like I know I can. It's just I got to keep putting in the work.
All right, guys, dude, I'm so excited today to talk to Adam here. You're over in North Carolina, correct? Or
That's right.
what
Raleigh, North
part of
Carolina.
what part?
Raleigh.
Okay. Awesome. So you're over there. You've been in real estate for how long?
About 2 years.
Okay. So you've been in it for about 2 years. But what I love about Adam's story is we connected just recently through Sub 2. Shout out to Sub 2. But we connected and Adam was just so generous with his time. He gave me so much good advice. But the thing that I really wanted to get Adam on the show here is because Adam is kicking ass in real estate, doing wholesaling and doing flipping while he's maintaining a marriage with 3 kids and a full-time W-2. And this is the kind of stuff that I think most of the audience needs to hear. How can we battle this? And one of the things that really drew me to Adam when we were talking is he was talking about prioritizing time with his family and that he actually sets up boundaries so that he has time with his family. Because I think a lot of us will hear about successful real estate people and they're burning the ships in their relationships, they're burning the ships in their family because they're so focused on one thing that they're letting everything else sink. So when I was talking to Adam and heard all the things that he's doing and how he's able to do all this, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get him in here so that we can talk to him so that he can share hopefully some nuggets with all of you out there that do have a family, do have that W-2, and you're trying to make your real estate work. So, Adam, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of this stuff with you. Why don't you tell us kind of, how old are you, by the way? I
I'm
know you,
31.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that you're a kid. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations to almost being an
Appreciate
adult.
it. Yeah, right. We're almost there.
Oh, so tell us, like, what's your background? How did you get into real estate? And I know that you're a maintenance technician at a pharmaceutical company, kind of doing HVAC stuff. How long
Mhm.
have you been doing that?
So I've been doing the HVAC things kind of on and off for about 6 years. Worked for a company where I was traveling around the country for hospitals and other pharmaceutical companies. Did that for a few years, then stepped away.
Was
Um,
that with kids too?
No, this was before kids,
Okay,
when
okay.
I was traveling. And so
Okay.
it was funny. It was actually the day that I quit and I came home, my wife surprised me with like these little booties to show that we were pregnant with our first, like on the
Oh my
day that I
gosh, that's
quit.
amazing.
So it worked out perfect. But I stepped away from that to go into photography full time. So I've been a professional photographer for about 12 years now.
Oh wow.
Did weddings and engagements and all that stuff. But at the time, I was doing a lot of real estate on the side, just shooting listings for agents. And
Okay.
so I found a company locally here in Raleigh that was doing that. And so I became their full time photographer, shot 10 to 15 houses every day, and did that for about 2 years. And so I was in real estate, but more as like a service rather than like actually an investor. And so I shot probably 150 to 200 flips during my 2 years tenure there. And so I was always like fascinated by it. I always thought it was cool, watched all the HGTV shows, but at the time I was just, I think it was definitely a mindset thing, but also just thinking to myself, like, how do these guys find these deals? Where do they get the money? Like, I'm not in a position to ever even think about doing that because at the
So
time we
all
didn't
the
even own a house.
unknowns, the
Yeah,
unknowns were kind of paralyzing you, which is I think
totally.
common for almost all
Yeah,
of us starting
for
off.
sure. And we were still, my wife and I, we were still renting a place. And I was like, I don't even own my home. How am I going to go buy something to flip?
Who
All this
who am
stuff.
I to be an investor? Yeah.
Totally. And so it was more of just like a back burner thing, just kind of lodged it in the back of my head and just kept my business. So did the photography stuff for about 2 years, and it got to the point where we were scaling so much that it was like the hours were crazy. Like we'd start at 8 a.m. I'd get home at like 6. I'd have to edit for a couple hours. I'm not done until like 10:30 or 11 at night sometimes for these like high dollar clients. And my boss, who is amazing, but it was just, it's a small business. He's trying to make sure everything's staying afloat and
This
falling through the
wasn't even
cracks.
your business. You were
No, I was an
working
employee. Yeah.
for someone
So it
else's
was like a
full
1099
full
employee
time.
for him. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And so I pitched the idea to him. I was like, look, like we definitely need somebody to do like operations for this, scheduling the amount of appointments, getting the people out in the to make everything more efficient, and basically created myself a position as the operations manager. So I got out of the car. I'm not shooting anymore. Now I'm talking to the agents. I'm scheduling all of the showings and the
How many
photos and
employees were
measurements.
there at the time?
At the time, there was only four,
Okay.
and the owner was still in the field. So he
Oh,
had his
wow.
appraiser's license, so he would measure the homes, and then I would take the pictures, and we would kind of just work in tandem. There was two other guys that had their own car, and they would do both measurements and photography. And so they did it like about half the volume because they had to do double the work. And so
Yeah, makes sense.
when I moved into that role, that's how it stayed. I trained up my replacement, put them in there, and then I just started scheduling, doing all that. And it was great. I was at home. We were just having our first son, so I had the flexibility of working from home, getting to be around him every single day as he's growing up. But it got to the point where I'm on salary, which is great, but that's only great if you're working 40 hours or less. When it gets up to 80,
Mm,
90 hours a week, because I'm getting text at 11:30 at night, like, oh, is the schedule short up for tomorrow? Text at like 5 in the morning before we're going, hey, somebody just canceled, can you find somebody to put in here? There was no work-life balance. And I
yeah,
was like, dude, I love you, but like, I'm trying to eat dinner with my family right now, like this has to wait.
yeah.
And it got to a point where it was getting kind of contentious, and it took the joy of being at home was really awesome until it got to that point where I was basically having to lock myself into my office with my now 1 year old son like scratching on the door wanting to come see daddy, and
Mm,
I have to like hide myself to even get work done. And
wow.
so it was like, even it was worse than leaving, to be able to like segment work from life.
Yeah,
And
I think it's
so
so hard. And I've dealt with that in my own life of like, even with the gym, like there's something so powerful and not to get into all the psychology behind it, but these transitions of like going from your home to an office, like just the car ride, it starts changing your brain psychology. Okay, I'm driving to work, I'm going to work. And one thing that I've helped some of my clients with, if they have a hard time transitioning from work back to home. And one
sure.
thing that you can do for anyone's listening is like, as you get home, one thing you can do is just set your intention in your car for 5 minutes before you walk in your house. So you're not bringing what you just had happen at work into your home. Set 5 minute timer, remind yourself who you want to be, how do you want to show up for your family, and get in that. It's kind of like a pregame, and then you go into the house. So now you're transitioning, but it's so hard when you're in your house and you're trying to battle, like, okay, am I a father right now? Am I a worker right now? Am I this? Am I that? Like it
Right.
brings so much anxiety and guilt
Yeah,
into
it
it.
was tough. And
Yeah.
so it got to the point where it was just too much for me. And so I was like, I would rather even just do like a horizontal move back into this other pharmaceutical industry where I know when I leave work, I'm done. Like, I completely,
Mm,
headspace is gone. I can be focused on my family, and vice versa. When I leave the house, I'm just going to work. And it made more sense for us at that life stage. Um, and so came back, started at the company that I'm at now. This was probably 2018.
okay.
And so right when I walked into work, this was one of the contracts that I had at the previous job. So I knew a lot of the guys that worked here. And it was kind of a seamless transition for me to come in. The pay was fine. And I mean, it still is, it is what it is. It's good, but I could see the ceiling like immediately. Like, all my
Mm,
coworkers have been here 20 plus years. We do the same work every day. And it's just kind of looking, they'll pull up their 401k on their computer and just like watch it and just waiting to retire. And so I was like, dude, I want so much more for my life.
yeah.
And at that time, our daughter was born. She was probably 3 months old. And this is where I start to transition into real estate. I'm basically having this existential crisis on my couch at 2 in the morning.
Mm,
And I'm just like, dude, holy crap, how am I going to be able to afford the life that my family deserves? Like, I make
mm,
decent money, but like, I see the ceiling. There's only so many ladders I can climb. And to get to that earning potential, and it's still not where I want to be. And so I started going down like the YouTube rabbit hole of every side hustle under the sun. Obviously, I had my photography, but the money making is in like weddings and stuff, and that's always on the weekends. I want to see my family more, not
I,
less.
I
And
love that.
so it's not like it wasn't worth the exchange to make a little bit more money, but then I'm not with my
Yeah.
family. It just didn't make sense. And so try to do like a print on demand t-shirt company, dabbled with stocks, did all kinds of things. And
What was that? So 2 in the morning, what was the time period between things suck, let me get a side hustle? How long were you playing in the side hustle stuff?
yeah,
Getting the t-shirts and
probably 3 to 4 months, just trying all
Okay.
these things at once, and not like just focusing on t-shirts, just focusing on stocks. I'm trying to do it like whatever hits first, I'll focus on.
Because day
And
trading's so simple, so that
yeah,
makes sense that for someone just to
yeah,
dabble in it. So
right.
so I mean, of all the ones, like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, day trading makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
how were you dabbling in day trading? Like, I that's fascinating because I don't know how
yeah.
someone can dabble. Like,
It was more like in the like not penny stocks, but it was still like blue chip, if you want to call them, still on the S&P 500,
yeah,
Nasdaq, all that stuff. But it was just like very cheap stocks that you would kind of. It was kind of like the similar pump and dump model of
right,
the penny stock craze. Like some, you get good news, you buy it, you make. I buy in for a few $100s, I sell at a few $100s more, just in and out, really quick rips. But
right,
it, like again, it's just like you climb a little bit, and then it's all speculative. I might have a really good week and then I lose it all on the next
yeah,
thing. And I'm like, this, I'm just kind of spinning my wheels here.
yeah,
And so go back, continue to research side hustles. And I stumble across a Jerry Norton video about wholesaling.
mm,
And it was like, I flipped this piece of paper and made $40,000. And I was like, there's no way this is a scam.
mm,
And, so I was, but I was still like super intrigued. It was in real estate, which is something I'd wanted to do years ago. And I was like, huh, I wonder. So I started doing some more research, trying to find some local people, like what is wholesaling? Who is doing this? Is this even like legit?
right,
And I ended up finding one of my early mentors. His name's Ted Johnson. He's here in Raleigh. He's been wholesaling for about 5 years now, and he was a paralegal before that in New York, like the
okay.
toughest state to do this business in. And I basically came up to him and was like, bro, just like
How did you find him?
just on Instagram. It
What
was
did
either
you search?
Instagram.
How to
I
get
was just
rich
looking up
quick? How to
real
sell my
estate or
house?
wholesaling, and he had made a comment, and I saw, like, I clicked on his profile and it said he was local, and I was like, "Yo, what's going on? Like, I'm looking into this. Can you tell me, like, is this actually legitimate or not?" And basically it was like, "Can you show me a check that you actually made money doing this, and I'll take it seriously, and then I'll like go for it." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I wholesaled this piece of land and I made like 20 grand." And he showed me the receipt, and I was like, "Okay, all
Okay.
right, so
But you
this is
didn't quit.
real."
You didn't go full Jonah Hill. You didn't go and quit your
No,
job.
I didn't. No, because
Come on,
I
Adam, where
got a
you
wife and
at?
kids now.
I know.
If it was 5 years ago, 100%, I would have jumped and built a parachute on the way down. But like
Yeah.
trying to protect my wife and kids, and so I just started like consuming content like a madman, like
But
all
you
the
didn't
YouTube
go
stuff.
work with him or anything or what?
He would like um now that I knew that it was like legit, right? And he's
The
like, yeah, if you need me
per
to
some
underwrite,
stranger off of Instagram.
sure,
Yeah. Now that it was
right.
legit. I love
That
that.
somebody that lives in my town made money doing this.
Yeah.
That was enough for me to like at least try to like take the step forward and see like, all right, what's this going to be?
Okay.
And so I started watching more Jerry stuff, found Pace's content pretty early on into the journey, joined the free group and started just networking, talking to people, trying to figure out, okay, what are you doing? Are you direct to seller? Are you direct to agent? Like what's the best way to take this? And I would pull a list, skip trace it, and then just call in my car on my lunch and just started banging the phones trying to get leads.
Wow.
Um,
But this was all self-taught. Again, this wasn't with the
yeah,
guy that
not
you
yeah.
met.
I didn't like join his team or anything. He's just like, hey, if you need me to help you comp something or do this or that, like reach out. But it wasn't. He didn't really offer for me to work for him. And at the time, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go do it. Like
Yeah.
in hindsight, I definitely would have tried to join a team. It would have shortened my timeline to deals faster,
Mhm.
100%. So any newbies here, that's like biggest tip is just join somebody else that's already doing it, because it's
Yeah.
gonna take your timeline and shrink it
Well,
in
plus you
half
have to, and this is
at
what I think a
least.
lot of people don't understand. And I didn't even when I was doing the wholesaling and had my business partner, like he pulled the data, he did all the not like analytical, the integrator type stuff. He did programming, all this stuff.
Yeah,
And all I did was go to the leads and talk to the people, close the deals, all that stuff.
right.
But after we stopped being partners, I was like, oh, how hard can that be? Like I'm just pulling
Yeah,
data and marketing, like and then once I did, it's like, oh my gosh, this is miserable. Like
yeah,
that's not for me. So I agree that I think a lot of people get in not realizing because then you're not even at the dispo part because dispo is its own, like
Oh, it's
almost
a whole
separate
other animal.
entity. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
of
you got to pull
course.
data for buyers, you have to market to the buyers, you have to contact them, you have to go to the houses. Like that's
Hmm.
its own other animal. So yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Anyone that's starting out, try to find a team, start figuring out what parts of wholesaling you actually enjoy,
yeah,
and then you can start seeing, do you even want to build a full business or not? Because I know some people that are in acquisition and they're making their 10K plus and they're just on a team and they're
yeah,
happy because all they have to do is what they want to do, which is talk to people.
totally,
Okay.
absolutely.
So you're in
Yeah.
your car. How many
Um,
hours are you, or let's start. How long did it take you to get your first deal? Let's start
eight
with that.
months
8 months.
closed. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Eight
got
months.
probably 5 or 6 deals under contract during
let's do
those
the
eight
first
months.
let's do the first contract because I'm sure it fell out and
Yeah,
people need to hear
it
that
did.
that's
Yeah,
normal. Yeah, yeah.
sure.
So how long from you, cool, Jerry Norton, this guy, now you're pulling data, you're calling people because you're paying for the data and you're skip tracing it as well. Are you calling from just your cell phone or did you do Google Voice or
Google Voice. Yeah.
okay, so Google Voicing every day during lunch.
Hmm.
How much time during
So
the day
about
calling?
so about a dedicated hour in the middle of the day, like from
Okay.
12 to 1 every
And
day,
how
Monday through
many are you
Friday.
going through? Because you're single line dialing, like,
Probably 50 numbers in an hour.
and then how many connects do you think you got? Maybe like five,
10.
10?
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 to 10. Yeah.
I
Leave a
can't
lot of
imagine.
voicemails, shoot some texts, and just keep it moving. And then once I catch somebody, add them. And like my CRM was just a notepad,
I
write
love
down the
that.
address
Oh
and
my
stuff.
gosh.
And
Yes.
and
Don't
then
spend all
yeah,
those newbies out there. Stop spending so much for all these things. Like you aren't at
don't
that
need it.
level. You
Yeah,
don't need that. Keep it
yeah,
simple. Oh my
100%.
gosh. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
we
you
did
were doing
that
that. How fast forward, how long before you
to the
got
first
someone
contract.
to say
Yeah,
yes?
it probably took right around a month of doing that.
Whoa. Do you think that's normal? I feel like that's pretty quick, especially only connecting with 5 to 10 people a day.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, as far as like getting somebody to actually like want to sell and get to the point where it looks like a deal, um, I know some people that close deals that quickly. This is the first person that I've find like actually like had the conversation. They were like, "Yeah, send the contract."
But
Um,
but is it at that point had you guys agreed upon a number or they just said,
yeah,
yes, I'm interested in selling?
no, we agreed upon a number,
Okay. So it
and
was a
then I was
deal.
going to send. So it was a 2 bed, 1 bath house in a small tertiary market outside of Durham, North Carolina, called Roxborough. And ARV that I was looking at, obviously it's a smaller town, so it's kind of tough to value. But I was looking at around 120 to 140,000 for this house.
Okay.
I had it under contract for 59,000.
Whoa.
So it
Was
sounds
it
like a
beat up
good
Bobby?
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it had a tenant in place. When I went to look at it, yeah, I mean, it needed renovations
So
inside.
it
It
was
was just dated and
livable.
old. Well, somebody was living in there, and that's the crazy part is that I brought my contractor out there, called contractors around, see like, hey, could you meet me at this house, just so I can get a
And you
general
didn't know,
rehab
I just
estimate.
want to go back to this person that's starting. Like, did you know any contract? Like, how did you find which contractor to bring to that? You just went through, did you
Yeah,
Instagram that too?
no, so I guess to rewind that, so I was spinning my wheels for um to get to this first contract for that month or whatever, and I'm still networking with other folks, right? And so
And when you say
um
networking, is that just through the Facebook
Facebook
group
groups,
or are you
RIA
going to
meetings here
RIA meet?
locally,
Okay.
yeah, doing that, doing like anybody that wanted to talk to about real estate, I
Okay.
was
Let me take a
about it.
pause because I love hearing you're obviously hustling your butt off. What's going on in the family at this moment? Because it sounds like you, at least during the daytime, your lunch, that's not time away from family. But if you're
Sure.
going to RIA meetings and you're networking, like, are you sacrificing time away from your family at the end of your normal W-2 shift pretty significantly during this
No.
time? Or how are you managing
Yeah,
time?
so I would try to, and obviously like coordinating with my wife and be like, one, just telling her like, hey, this is a new venture I'm trying to get into.
So getting
Which
her
she
on
was,
board.
yeah, which she was like, okay, but this sounds fake. Like I don't think this is
Where's
real.
the check, Adam?
Yeah,
Where's the check?
exactly. And so we'll get there when that kind of
Yeah.
be quiet check comes along, but
Uh-huh.
the proof of concept. But it would just be like typically the RIA meetings would be at like from 6 to 7, not nothing crazy.
Once a month
And
or
so yeah, more maybe by monthly,
okay,
bi-weekly
okay.
rather.
So that's
And it's
not too
just
bad.
one night a week and be like, hey, and I want to go every time and be like, hey, I'm gonna go to this thing tonight, or do we have any plans?
But
And they're like, no, you're cool.
as a
So
newbie going to these, like
mhm.
I mean, I think we're just gonna be able to help out so many people on this, Adam. Like, how does a newbie go to these RIA meetings? I don't have experience. I don't know what to say. I don't know what value I can bring. Like,
Yeah,
how do you go into those and do something and
yeah.
not just be a
Well,
fly on the wall that's just like
that
you're
yeah, it's funny you
there.
say that because when I the first handful that I went to, that's all I did. It was just
Yeah,
a fly on
for
the
sure.
wall because I was
Same.
definitely not. I'm not a very big like extroverted person. I'm not one to just come and jump out and say hi. Like I'm more just chill, low key. I'm not like afraid to talk to you, but I'm not the one that's going to take the first step
Well,
traditionally.
for me, I could even talk to people. That wasn't the issue, but like what do I say? What value?
Right?
Like,
What do I
hey,
know?
just help
Yeah.
me. Like, what do you
Right.
do? And they're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, how do I buy a house? And they're like, you run the numbers, you find a list. Like, it's
Yeah.
all just such basic stuff.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that was definitely me. And then it was just to like, hey, I'm a brand new wholesaler in the area. I'm really interested in getting started. Like, do you have any tips
Okay.
for me to get going?
And did you have specifics on what you were looking for, or anything like that, or did you keep it pretty broad?
Pretty broad at
Okay.
first, right? Like I'm just trying to gather as much information as possible. Like, because obviously like these people were in my position at one point.
Right.
Not everybody is going to be like a go-giver like the sub two community, but you're going to find those people that want to kind of help you along.
Yeah.
They remember what it was like. And so it's like, look, I'm just trying to get to your level. Like, do you have any like action items that I could follow to try to push myself along?
And what did
Um,
they give you? Like, what if you were, let's say now you run into that newbie at
mhm,
the RIA meeting? Let's help
yeah.
that person out. Like, what action items would you tell them?
Yeah. I think figuring out your avatar, like what you mentioned as before joining a team, like what do you actually like to do? Are you comfortable talking to strangers?
Mm,
Like would cold calling make sense, or does that terrify you?
yeah.
If it does,
And
I probably don't want to put you on the phone.
and I would agree, but I also know, I mean, just because of my background in studying psychology stuff, like I think it's true if you're terrified of talking on the phone, that's probably not the best fit for you. But if you want to get better at that, you can totally change that too.
Oh,
But you
100%.
have to want to get over that fear. Because I
Yeah.
run into a lot of people that they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not good at calling. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter what you're good at. It's what do you actually want? Because like
Yeah.
I'm good at being an engineer, I'm good at being all these things, but like that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
get
It's a
going.
learned skill for sure. Because I definitely was not good on the phones when I got started.
But you wanted
Um,
to get better, or what was
exactly.
driving? Okay, yeah,
Yeah, it was
100%.
just it's finding it's the end goal was really the two words I think that describe like the vision of why I wanted to find real estate, and it looked like the best vehicle for that is freedom and impact. So like the time freedom and the financial freedom to do what I want when I want with my family,
Yeah,
and then the impact to provide value to others, to help them get into the same situations, or just like to be a kind of a pillar in our community, right? Like
yeah.
I'm a man of faith. I'm involved in our church. Um, like to help with that, and I'm really big on missions, like going out, spreading the gospel, all that good
Mhm.
stuff. But I don't have the time to do that. But if I could be like, for me, it's not I want to be super wealthy just so I can live in this big house, but money is just a tool, right?
Right.
And so if I can use that tool
For
and then
impact.
fund that into big impactful missions and initiatives, and I can help kind of push that along and move the needle, then that's super fulfilling for me. And so in all these other things that I tried, could I make money? Yes, potentially, but can I have the impact that I have like I can in real estate specifically? I can't find anything that's similar, and that's
Yeah.
why we wanted
Or and
to
I
really
think
just make it
also,
work.
but I mean, I know people that have some pretty big photography businesses that they have all these people and they're running it like a CEO. Like they're not doing
Hmm.
like they're running it like a business.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of what do you believe is possible? Like this is one thing I always talk to people. It's like if you don't believe it's possible, then just stop now.
Right.
So like for you, it's like, oh, maybe photography, I just don't see it. I don't believe it. But with real estate, I do see it and I do believe it. So cool.
Hmm.
Like, let's run with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So newbies coming in, they're talking to you at a RIA, like, hey, Adam, I'm new. Like, what's some tips and tricks you're saying? Cool, figure out your avatar,
Yeah.
what
See
it is that you
what
want to get
yeah.
good at.
What do you want to get good at, or what kind of skills do you have from past job experiences or something that would lend well to this new venture, right?
Yeah,
Like, do you have any admin experience? Maybe that makes you more of like the integrator person. And so, like you mentioned your old partner pulling data and stuff. Not a lot of people want to do that, but if you're good at that, like that's a huge value add to another person, especially somebody
100%.
that's established and has like a bunch of meetings or a lot of closings going on at the same time, like being able to kind of segment that all that and handle that for somebody, that's worth its weight in gold to a lot of
Oh, yeah,
operators.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so something like that, for me, like a lot of newbies and one of our lead generations is cold calling, but we do it more as like an appointment setter. So it's like as long as you're willing to get on the phone, I'll give you the data, I'll give you a dialer or like a Google Voice number, whatever, and you just make the calls. And as soon as somebody answers and they're actually interested in selling, just give the number to me and I'll take it from there. I'll let you listen in and we can do like a kind of fly on the wall scenario. So you can hear me negotiate, you can hear me build rapport with the sellers, um, ultimately get the property under contract. And once we sell it, I'll hold your hand through the escrow process, all the admin stuff, the paperwork, and then I'll just pay you a commission on the back end. And we have it kind of structured where it's like a stair stepper. The more deals we do, the more you get paid. And so it's a win for me because I just don't have the capacity to get in front of those leads anymore.
Right.
And it's a win for you because the only thing you're risking is your time,
Right.
right? Which you're going to have to be on the phone anyways if you want to get into this business. And
Right.
so if I had
Unless you're
something
doing the admin or you find
totally
some. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's something I like. If you're willing to make the calls and you don't know what else to do, then this is a solution for both of us. And it's a
Yeah.
win-win for
And
everybody.
I always tell people like whenever one thing that I've learned from mentors and doing a bunch of stuff is like when you're going to these events or and you want someone to help you, like, and I think even Hermosi talks about that. Like, don't go up to someone and be like, "Hey, how can I help you?"
Hmm.
Well, this is inconvenient. You're already not helping me right now by making me think like
Talk to
how
you. Yeah.
like
Right.
no.
Yeah.
So when you want to get advice or help from someone, like come with what it is that you have. Like, hey, Adam, I'm new into this. I'm really eager in learning. And one thing I always tell people, like, tell them about what you've already done because it
Yep.
shows some skin. I've been studying. I know who Jerry Norton is. I know who Pace is. I know who Adam is. Like, I've been doing all these things, and I have 20 hours a week that is open every single week. And I'm really eager to learn out how to cold call better or how to do this. Is there anything that I can provide of service to you to help you and your team out?
Yeah.
Like when you come
100%.
with that, now you've just got rid of like a 30-minute conversation. Like, cool, these are the dominoes that I have. Does anything line up?
Yeah.
And if they're like, no, again, here's the other thing. And this is really important for anyone, especially if you're going to be cold calling. Just because someone says no and they don't want your dominoes, it doesn't mean anything's broken with you. It's like if
Totally.
I go to Adam, like, hey, do you want to buy this shirt? He's like, no. And I'm like, dude, but it's the best white shirt ever. It's all this. And he's just like, I don't care. And he's like, no, I actually hate white and I only like black. It has nothing to do with you. So
Right.
when you give these people your dominoes and they say no, be like, awesome. If anything changes, let me know. And then just go find the next person because it's just a
Totally.
numbers game.
100%. Yeah. Your value is not dictated by the
Oh my gosh.
result.
No,
Yeah.
unless you allow it to be.
Right. Totally.
And that's what it always comes down to. And I remember doing all my calls and like when people told me no, because I'm so competitive and type A, I was like, there's something wrong. I gotta fix it. I gotta get better. Like it was
Yeah.
always about me, which
Yeah.
just is so self-centered and ego driven. Like, dude, it has nothing to do with you. Maybe they're in a difficult situation, they're loading their kids in the car or something like this. Like it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. It's just not the right time for that person.
Yeah, this business is so situational that you could call that same seller the next day and have
You
that
do.
house under
You
contract.
do.
Yeah, right.
Right? That
Yeah,
happens so many times. I call someone and they curse me out. F you, you're the worst person, you're slime. And then
yeah,
I call back later, be like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, what?
right.
Like, do
Yeah,
you not
split
remember?
personalities. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wild.
but you're calling people randomly. You don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. And that's the other thing. Like I always give people the benefit of the doubt. Like when I used to train all my VAs, I told them like when someone yells at you, assume that they just found out someone in their family's dying. Like you don't
Right.
know what's going on the other side. For you to take it personal and be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they were so mean. Like, yeah, if my parents just died or my kid just got diagnosed with cancer or da da da,
Yeah. Yeah. I
like
don't want to talk to you either.
how
Yeah.
would you feel?
100%.
And
Well,
then
and I
it
think
takes
too,
the
it's
sting
just
away.
like switching that paradigm too and making it a game. Like I want
Yeah,
to get 10 no's in a row because
100%.
it'll keep on the phone longer. And I'm 99% certain you won't get to 10 before you get somebody that actually is interested. And you
Yeah.
just you stay more motivated because the more no's you get, you're that much closer to a yes.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just like switching
It's the game.
that
I
thought
always
process. Yeah.
I always told my VAs it's like playing Mario, and you probably don't know because you're a kid. But
Dude,
back
I
in my
played all the
day,
Marios. Come on. Not that
but,
young.
but
Jeez.
but back in my day, we used to play
Right.
Mario, and getting one coin was so stupid. You're just like, what's the point of one coin? But
Yeah.
after you get 100 coins, you get that extra life. So that's how
Yeah.
I train my VAs. Like every no is a coin. Like
Yeah.
just see how many you can get. Like
Yeah.
that's the game. But
Totally.
if you're so fixated, oh, I need to get the extra life, you're just going to be disappointed every time.
For sure.
So, okay. So let's fast forward. So you went to RIAs, you from the RIAs, you found contractors too.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so as you're talking, are you keeping another pad of like people that you're meeting? Like, oh, I met Creighton. He's a contractor. He said that he's interested in going to look at houses, or how did that work?
Yeah. But pretty much for that, any like connections I made, I just add them in my phone. And then in like the company little logo on the iPhone, I would just say what type of person they
Yeah,
are,
I get
hey,
you.
another wholesaler, agent, contractor, whatever, and then the town that I met them in.
Okay.
So that I could call like if I meet three um Creightons in at a RIA meeting,
Which you
which
would.
would be pretty, yeah, right, like super common. But then I
Maybe in
could,
Omaha, Nebraska.
right. And so, but Creighton one lives in Raleigh, Creighton two lives in Wake Forest, and Creighton three lives in the Durham. Then I'm
Yeah.
gonna put that next to their name, so I know like, oh, this dude said that he's a contractor in Durham. This is close to the property. All right, let me hit him up. And so I just started adding people to the contacts. And so this guy lived pretty close, and he said he could walk it for me.
Oh,
I went out there and got photos, and met the tenant that was living there. Walked around, and it was rough, but I think like where we had it, the spread was still there,
because there's
and so
120, and what did your
I
contractors
had it
say?
at 59, right? And so I was thinking like at least from the inside, reno was probably around 35,000 because the house is pretty small. It's only a 2 bed, 1 bath.
Okay.
So like new kitchen, new bathroom, new floors around that. Like roof was recently replaced, but
Wow.
come to find out from the contractor, he calls me because he went at a separate time than me. It just didn't work out.
Okay.
But he lived so close, he just popped in and he looked in the crawl space and he said, "Bro, this
Wow.
entire subfloor is falling through the ground. This lady shouldn't even be living in this house because she could fall through it at any moment. And you're gonna have to rebuild this house from like basically cut the house and rebuild the entire bottom half of this house.
Oh,
It's gonna
wow.
cost." He's like, "I think it's gonna cost about 55,000 to do
For
everything."
oh,
Yeah, so it was almost
but still, like this
no,
is so
just the,
difficult
yeah,
for us in other markets. Like
right,
50,000 to redo the flooring. I was think we were
yeah,
talking on the phone the other day. I'm in
sure,
Seattle,
yeah,
so like
right,
here you
yeah,
can barely get a
West Coast,
closet remodeled for
yeah,
50,000. But here's
right,
the other thing. I was talking to some other students of mine that, and tell me your opinion on this. Like I always advise someone 120 or more for an ARV on a property. Do not get into these 50,000, $100,000 properties because once you get it under contract, maybe you can get it for 10,000 or 5,000. I see these all the time in these cheap
yeah,
markets. But as
yeah.
soon as you put in the renovation, like 50,000 into this, now you're in this
There's no
thing like
margin, yeah,
70,000 and it's only worth $80,000. Like it's
right. After
totally not worth
commissions
it.
and all that stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not making any money. So yes, short answer, 100%. Only unless you're going after them in with creative strategies, which I don't know how much we'll get into that here, but like if you're doing wraps or something like that, then sure,
Yeah.
the cheap markets you can do, but from a cash perspective, definitely over 120, even 150.
But even if
um
you're doing a wrap, like I guess it depends on how much renovation it needs.
Hmm.
Because then it's, what is your return on investment? Say that you get in it, you're in it for 50,000 and you're
Hmm.
only making, $200-300 a month after you
Yeah,
pay out the person and the loan or
sure.
whatever. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. Anyways, I
yeah.
like to
But
have
yeah, short
equity
answer,
play right
100,
from the get-go.
100%. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Try to mess with the median price
yeah.
homes. That's what we're
Okay.
focusing on. Yeah,
So he went out, he said, dude, this isn't a deal, which was
yeah,
awesome. So
yeah.
then
It's
you're
gonna
like, cool,
cost.
I'm out.
Right. Yeah.
That was your
So
first month.
I had to call the seller and let them know, like, hey man, so this renovation is going to cost just as much as the contract of the house. And he knew, he just didn't
Oh,
tell me. So
yeah. He's like,
what Pace says, buyers are liars, sellers are worse.
oh
100%
man.
this guy. And so he's like, yeah, cool, whatever, just cancel it. And so I was like so defeated, because I was like, this was like going to be a lay down deal. It's going to be the first one to get over the finish line. It's going to be awesome.
Mhm.
And didn't work out. And so I was like pouted for like a day. And then I was like, all right, I'm not making money unless I'm making more calls. So I started making more calls. And there was a pretty large gap between there, probably 6 months of chasing leads, but never getting
Love
anybody
that.
to like
Love that.
actually move forward. And
Yeah.
so at that point in time, I'm still networking in the Facebook groups. I'm still talking to other people.
Are
Um,
you tracking how many like during this process? Because I'm even curious, when you're going to your meetups and networking, one of the things I always tell people is gamify stuff. And like you're
mhm,
saying, go for 10. Like that's a
yeah.
way to gamify it. Like try to get 10 no's. Like that's the
Hmm.
game now. It's not to get a deal. It's how
Right.
many no's can you get in a day? Did you notice that you were gamifying? Like, oh my gosh, I want to connect with 10 more people this week, or I want to, like, did you have any
Not at that
numbers?
time.
Okay.
No, it was just like I just need to get in these rooms as much as I
Okay.
can and um, try to get around these people, right? Like learn by osmosis. Just be
Yeah.
in the rooms with these high level operators. I can glean some stuff from them and take it back. And and all the while, like I still only have that hour on my lunch break, so I'm just eating up all the content in the podcast throughout the day. Like stop listening to music in the car, just consuming as much content, learning as much as I can, reading books. Um,
And then calling
and
for an hour.
right, calling for an hour, maybe call on the weekends some, because my
I
kids
was
are
just gonna
still
ask.
small. So like when they're napping, I could call for a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but as far as like KPIs for dials, it was more just what I can fit in that hour.
Yeah.
And so follow up with leads all during this time, probably 6 months in. Pace does a driving for dollars challenge with the free Facebook group, and trying to like push batch. I think it was batch driven at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
I
their
don't know what
driving
it
for
is
dollars
now.
app. Yeah, and so he was doing a big Zoom series, and it was in the middle of the day, so I could watch it like while I was working. And I'm just hammering the chat like, "Yo, I'm in Raleigh. I'm new. I'm trying to find other people that to like squat up with or just hold each other accountable. Let's be like battle buddies and try to figure this out together." And so put my phone number in the chat, and like an hour later this dude calls me and he's like, hey man, I saw that you were on the Zoom. I'm newer too. Do you want to go and grab a drink sometime and like see if like what we can do together? And I said sure, yeah. So we the next couple days, we probably 2 or 3 days later, we met at a brewery um and grabbed a couple beers. We're talking. He's a little bit older than me. He's 41.
Okay.
CPA by trade, so he's got more money than time. He's a partner at his firm. He's well established, but he's trying to buy his time back. And
Hmm.
real estate for him is like the the most logical solution to that is that I can go and start buying rental properties or doing flips or whatever to increase income, to basically just hire more staff at his CPA firm to take all of the
To get
just the
out.
junk clients, right? To relieve him, only keep the high dollar people. And then he gets that capacity throughout the day to go hang out with his kids. And we're
Right.
both really big hockey fans. So go to hockey games and travel around and do all that stuff. And so our goals are very similarly aligned. And he's like, well, I've got more money than time. So I've been thinking about setting up like
But it's
mailing
interesting because
or
you didn't have a ton of time either.
right. And that's kind of what I said. So he's like, I've got some money. I don't have any time. I'm going
Yeah.
to need somebody to like run
You're like,
these
I don't
leads when
have
they come
time
through. And I
or
said,
money.
that's exactly what I
But
said.
I
I
got a
said, I don't have
beard.
much.
I
I don't
got
have
a
much of either. I don't have much of either, but I'll make the time to make this work. And so he's like, okay, cool. So when you get leads, you talk to them, you do the acquisitions and dispositions. And once we sell stuff, we'll just split everything 50-50.
That was
And I was
pretty
like,
brave of him to
cool.
be like, because if it was me and I was in that, I'd be like, well, this guy's already got a W-2 full time. He already has a family. Like, one, I even have a hard time employing VAs sometimes because I don't want them to be taking time away from their family, especially with our hours. I know
Sure.
that it's not conducive to a healthy family. So, like, I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. So, like, I would have been hesitant. Like, well, even if this
Hmm.
knucklehead says he wants to do it, I don't care how nice his beard is. I don't want to be the person that's enabling this behavior for him to take time away from his family.
Sure.
So,
Well, and I think that because obviously with CPAs like twice a year, they're just like completely swamped. And
yeah,
so unfortunately, just in that industry, he doesn't have a lot of work-life balance when those
yeah.
times come.
Well,
Like
he
he does
probably
not
just,
see
you
his
just came
kids.
along at the right time and he
Yeah.
didn't have time to find someone else.
Yeah. And
So
he knew
he's
that
like,
the
cool.
flexibility that I had throughout the day,
Hmm.
where I had a dedicated hour, but I still had some downtime where I'm just in the office or doing something else that I could be texting people or
Okay.
going through the leads and trying to like
So I think I would
preliminary
agree
comp and
to that
stuff.
because I
So
remember when I was still an engineer, that I had a ton of downtime. Like even though I was there for 8 hours a day, like
right.
so if anyone's out there and you're like, oh, I got a W-2, but like of your W-2, how many hours are you actually working? Like realistically, I
2 to 3
guarantee it's
maybe.
like yeah, 100%. So when you say you don't have time, like really check in because I guarantee because I remember being at Boeing. I guess I'm not there anymore, but I'd be texting and I'd be calling and I'd go in conference for all these things
Hmm.
to be doing this stuff. So yeah,
Right. And
100%.
that's what it's turned into for me now is just systematizing literally every minute of the day is
Yeah.
that if I have a work order that I need to do, I know it's going to take about this amount of time. And then just time blocking every other minute from the moment I'm awake till the moment I go to bed, blocking in time to talk to sellers, to follow up with agents, to make sure escrow is running smoothly. We have 5 flips we're working on right now,
That's
making sure those are working, doing creative deals, and then obviously blocking out time for my family. Like, yo, I can't take calls from 6 to 8. Call me when my kids go to bed. Um, and then like we'll chop it up then. I stay up super late to fit in some West Coast people and stuff
Do
like
you
that.
let
But it was
sellers
like,
know that? Because I know this is a
yeah,
big thing. One of the things I loved, one of the guys, one of my first kind of mentors guys that I followed was this guy, Jeff Woods. Shout out Jeff Woods. But he was a mentee podcast guy. But he also talked about Keller Williams and how they set up boundaries of like, hey, Adam at 6 o'clock, I'm with my family, so I can't answer your phone call. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. But on the flip side, if I'm your client and you're my agent and you're not available when I want, I
yeah,
literally would just go find someone else. If I don't
right,
know you yet, I'd be
totally.
if during our interview you're like, oh, Creighton,
Hmm.
I'm the best agent, I'm all this, but I'm not available between 5 and 8 because I'm with my family. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then if someone else is like, hey, dude, I'm single,
Right.
I'm whatever,
Call
I'm
me whenever
available,
you
when
want.
I'd be
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pick that 100%.
sure. Yeah.
Just
And I
because I
think you
need the
have to be
flexibility to fit with my parameters. So
totally. And I think you need to be willing to lose clients or lose
yeah,
deals because of that. And
100%.
I'm okay to sacrifice a deal to be spending time with my family
I
because
love
there's
it.
plenty of others to come by, right? Like, I don't know. I think it was Dolph DeRoos was like the deal of a lifetime comes once a week. And I truly believe that because I feel like any time that I've lost a big, massive deal, as long as I still kept like pushing forward, we got another deal that was just as good, if not better.
Wow. I love that.
So it's just, yeah, just keep pushing forward always.
Okay, so let's go back to your 6 months of drought. Were
Yeah.
you what's your partner's name? I forgot.
His name's Scott.
Scott. So were you and Scott working together in that 6 month drought, or when did you and Scott
So I
come
probably
together?
found him. Yeah, I probably found him month 5 of that drought on the
Okay,
pace
so let's put
thing.
that, we'll pin that. I
Yeah.
want to know because there's people out there that got their first deal, maybe they got lucky and it fell
Hmm.
out. Or I even worked with people that they got their first deal and then they couldn't get their second one. Because
Totally.
realistically, for anyone out there, make sure that you've built the habits to deserve your results. Because I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that they were essentially lazy and they got the instant result, but they didn't build the habits that actually reaps the reward of that. So they have in their mind, they've reinforced this bad behavior. If I just call 3 people a day, I got a deal. So it should
Yep.
always be that easy. They didn't earn it.
Yep.
So then
100%.
they don't know how to get it again. They're like, I'm just calling 3 people a day and it doesn't work. And it's like,
Yeah.
because you didn't work. Like you
Right.
just got lucky
Exactly.
on that first one. Like that's terrible. So for anyone that gets their first deal, I highly recommend erase everything, wait till you get two or three, and then use that as okay, this is what it actually takes.
Yep. 100%.
So anyway,
The
five
connections you make today are the checks you can cash in 90 days, if you think of it that way. So
at
you have to
least, at least.
constantly be generating new leads, to have things in your pipeline, because yeah, you never know. I mean, there was a house that or a seller for our first flip, we nurtured that lead for 9 months before we finally got a closed deal, and we made $62,000 on the flip.
Wow.
So, and that was the first flip that me and Scott ended up doing together, and now we're scaling and running multiple at once.
That's nuts.
But yeah, it took 9 months to get that guy to officially sign and move forward.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
that
just, you
happens.
got to be consistent. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so go back to the 5 months. What were you doing? How did you keep your mindset right to keep moving when it was seemed like it was a waste of time? You don't have any proof at this
Yeah,
point. Like, and I can't imagine, I don't know what your wife is telling you, but
yeah,
like you're like, no, I gotta call, I gotta go to this RIA thing. She goes, babe, like, no, you don't. It
hey,
doesn't work. Like
yeah,
you're chasing a unicorn, dude.
a
There's
hundred
no end
percent,
to that
a
rainbow,
hundred
bro.
percent. Yeah. So
Come
I mean,
back
there
to
was,
us. Go
yeah.
back to day stocks. At least penny stocks. I can see that.
Yeah, right. So no, there was definitely some tough moments in the middle where I'm like, dude, why am I wasting all my time doing this if I can't
Yeah.
get anything going? And but I think it's because I was constantly like just filling my head with other use cases of people doing it, like
Okay.
Wholesaling Inc. podcast and Pace's YouTube channel, or the wholesale hotline, and just being connected and seeing people closing deal every single day. I was like, I
So
know we can do it. It's just I haven't
when you
got there yet.
and I'm curious about your mindset of this fixed versus growth mindset. So when
Yeah.
you see someone else succeeding, what goes on in your head? Is it, oh wow, it's possible?
Yeah.
Or are you the opposite? Like this is how I was because I was so competitive and had a fixed mindset. Like oh my gosh, everyone else can, but I can't. Like there's something wrong
Yeah.
with me. I'm the worst. I'm like, I've just attacked the hell out of myself
Sure.
whenever I would see someone else because one of the detrimental things that happened to me when I was a kid, I was told I was smart and I'm all these things. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, if I'm all these things, why can't I do
Yeah.
these things? And it
Right.
just destroyed me.
Totally. No, I was definitely more encouraged by the more stories that I heard,
Okay.
because it was a lot of guys that were like me in similar situations. And they're like, if this kid can do it, then why can't I? Right.
Yeah.
Like I know I can, it's just I got to keep putting in the work. And so once me and Scott got linked up, I had obviously the activity that I'm doing, calling on my own. He hired some VAs to start generating leads. We started getting those in. I would
Okay.
follow up with them, do the negotiations and stuff. We finally got something under contract. And then we
Wait, no,
closed
but
on
you
it.
have to go. So let's go back because now you're in when you and Scott are working together after the
Hmm.
5 month drought. So the five
Yeah.
month drought, what you're saying that kind of kept you going is just being proximity of people
Yeah.
that are you're hearing of their success. You're seeing that it's
Yeah.
possible.
Totally.
And
And I think it
that's
was more distracting myself, right? I couldn't get in my thoughts of like, you must not be good enough. You're not really a salesman. You can't do this or that or whatever. Um, that I was just like filling myself with so much positivity from these other people
mm,
doing it, that there was no other. I was like so motivated by
yeah.
watching these other people do it that it made me still want to get on the phone, even
Okay.
though I hated doing it. And I think it was more too like, it's just like going to the gym. Like you said, the more you go, the easier it gets, and it
Yeah.
becomes like a
It becomes
habit.
a habit.
And so
And then
right. And so
once
now,
it's a habit, you do the habit long enough, then it becomes part of your identity. And
right.
that's like that the real, and I think a lot of people miss this, the real definition of a habit is when you can do it without any conditions. Like,
Yeah.
because mine used to be like I could go to the gym every day at a specific time. But if I didn't
Hmm.
do my routine, God forbid, I didn't drink my protein shake before and do 3 spins and go at 3 in the afternoon, all hell broke loose. But
Yeah.
once I was able to be like, I can go to the gym at 5 in the morning, I can do it at 12 in the afternoon, I can do it at 8 o'clock at night. I know by the end of the day, I will have a workout done. That's when you have a true habit. So for anyone out there that's doing cold calling or doing something, be careful if you start to get conditioned that you can only do it with certain parameters.
Yep.
Really, the ultimate is if you can start mixing it up. Like, cool, I'm really consistent on calling every single day at 12 to 1. Now try to force yourself to like, okay, well, now I'm going to call from like 4 to 5 and like really shift that up, because that's how
Yep.
you really ingrain that that's just who you are.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, totally. I totally agree. Because yeah, it's just doing the thing. It doesn't need to be boxed in with a certain
And a lot of
time
us
frame or
get fixed
parameters that
into
you're
that,
putting.
because then
Yeah.
what if you go on a vacation, or what if this happens, or what if then you're just like, oh, I can't do it because I normally, you get
Right.
so
It's not
fixated
perfect. Yeah.
that this is the only way you, because you've conditioned yourself that this is the
Hmm.
only way I know how to do it, is I have to use Mojo, or I have to use this or whatever. It's like, no, that's not the thing. The thing is
Yeah.
doing the actual thing.
Totally.
So, okay, so
Love
you
it.
were continue to get motivated by going around seeing these people, plus you were continuously taking action.
Yeah.
You didn't ever stop your calling for an hour every day.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, maybe a day or two, like, and
right.
if we got like a really big work order or something at my
You had
job where I
to.
didn't take lunch or something, yeah, but like pretty consistent, like I'm going to make this work. And at that point, like you said, my wife being like pretty um
Supportive and amazing.
yeah, like just being like, I mean, supportive, yes, because she didn't ultimately tell me to stop, but I could definitely tell like there was some doubt there, like there, yeah, I don't know why you're wasting your time doing this.
Yeah.
And so
What does
we,
she say now? Does she
oh,
say
I mean,
grateful?
yeah, I mean, she understands that, she sees how passionate I am about it, right? Like
Mm.
I just love this business, and the property side is cool, but I mean, ultimately it's just solving problems, right? This real estate's a people business at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And if we can solve problems, like that's just that gives me that good feeling, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
making an impact. And so, that like she definitely, there's still like that balance, right? Especially when I'm running so many projects and we've had to put the boundaries on like when I can go work on houses and do other things, until I can go full time and have that capacity throughout the day. Um, so I mean, it's still a work in progress. We're not perfect at it, but yeah, she definitely supports me now.
Yeah.
But at that time, before the first couple deals closed, it was just like, dude, I feel like you're just wasting your time. And it was more out of love. Like, I don't want you just to be
Yeah. Yeah.
chasing this rabbit hole for no reason. Like you're spending a lot of time and effort and money trying to market to these people and do this stuff, and it just doesn't seem to be working. So to move it forward, right? Like Scott, we get linked up. I start getting the leads from him. I also have the people that I'm following up with from me cold calling. So we're basically making like doubling our lead flow.
And you
And
still had sufficient time in 1 hour to get back to all these leads? Because I would imagine with you just cold calling, because again, you're saying every 90 days. So if you're just
mhm,
following up with leads, now you're not cold calling. I guess you're relying on Scott's VAs to be doing the cold calling, and that's
right,
where
yeah.
your
So it
follow up
kind of
starts.
transitions, yeah. So where they make the initial call, and then it
Okay.
comes to me, and I get the additional information. I start building rapport and doing all that, getting into the actual sales process.
Okay.
But then that hour quickly starts bleeding into other times, so that other downtime, right? Like we said, I'm only really working 2 to 3 hours out of my 8 hour day.
Mhm.
And I know I can do it on my lunch break, but now what if I just go on a walk? I can still be on my phone.
Right.
Or
I
yeah,
love
like,
all
or
that. Yeah.
let me go fix this thing on the other side of campus and be on the phone
Mhm.
and just make it happen. And so like it was really just, if I'm not specifically inside of a like a fill line or somewhere that I can't have my phone on me, I'm talking to people. And
Mm.
so it just started to consume more of my day.
Yeah.
And then still texting and emailing people or whatever, so that I could be on top of those leads. And then we finally got somebody that agreed, got him under contract, went and looked at it, looked pretty good, found a buyer, and we closed. And it wasn't a big deal. I think we made like 7,500 bucks, and we actually had to split it with an agent who brought the buyer to us.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um,
So 35
so
or
we
37,
split
5.
$3,500 for our first deal, but now it was like, dude, we did it. We finally did it. And
Well, that didn't even have to. How many VAs were you guys running at the
two,
time? So that didn't even probably clear
yeah, it
your,
covered a month of their
yeah.
calling. And so but now we still have all these other leads that we're following up with.
So
And
this would be interesting. So when did you and Scott start doing the cold calling versus getting that first contract? What was the time frame?
we, trying to remember here.
Like a couple months, 1 month?
I think it was 2 months, went
Okay.
from him
And
starting with the VA service to when us closing that first deal.
okay, and then that's probably because again, you're talking every once you get to 90 is when those
Mhm.
ones you caught. So after that first one, what was the second and third? Like what was the
Yeah.
frequency behind?
Yeah. I think that first one closed
Oh, and how many
during,
times did you talk to that person? Because I think a lot of people too, again, trying to help all these newbies, like they're like, oh my
yeah.
God, I got to talk to the person. They didn't want to sell the first time.
Yeah, I think I talked to the guy 6 times, and the
Okay.
first time he had it under contract already. So it was
Okay.
already like going to
So
sell. And so I was like, okay, great. Well, do you know when close of escrow is? And he told me, I was like, okay, would you mind if I just follow up with you a week before just to make sure everything's moving forward? And if anything gets squirrely with your buyer, like I'm here. Um, and we have a conversation. So called him the week before. He said, I think we're on, but I haven't heard from the guy ever since signed the contract. And so funny enough, I go on Facebook and I see the guy marketing the deal and he can't sell it.
uh,
I call him again the day before closing. He's like, yeah, I canceled the contract. If you guys want it, I'll sell it to you at the same price. And I said, okay, cool.
why did you think you could? Oh, because you had a buyer from your agent
Yeah,
already?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So because they already told us that they would pay X amount for this house. And I think we ended up we got it from him for 45,000. Again, these are this cheap market.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really good. I'll
45,000,
take
and then
12.
we sold it for like 58.
Okay.
Um,
But the ARV is what?
90 maybe
Okay.
100.
So you're
This
close
guy
to
definitely
everything.
overpaid. He
Yeah.
definitely overpaid, but it seems that was just his model, right? And so um, we got
Okay.
it over the finish line, and while in the middle of that escrow process is when we got our next deal under contract as well. So it was like before we even closed the first one, we had another one locked up, and then it was probably 2 weeks later that one closed, and that one was a big one because in the middle of us doing the cold calling, right? Me cold calling using the VAs, I started doing just like DIY direct mail from our house. So I'd print out a list with like a little template of mail, pack them while we're watching a movie or whatever, and send like 30 or 40 out at a time and do that a couple times a week. And gentleman called me off this one mailer and said, hey, I got your letter. We definitely need to sell this house. Like there's told me this big sob story. It was like the
And it was
family home.
handwritten letter
No, this was printed. I didn't even do like anything
through your
like,
printer.
yeah, I printed
Oh,
it at
well,
work.
did you just go and look for what other people are sending and just copy that, or
Yeah,
what did
pretty
you?
much.
Okay.
Yeah, I was basically just saying, hey, Mr. Seller, I saw 123 Main
Yeah.
Street. I'm interested in giving you a cash offer. Give me a call.
Yeah.
And so he called me,
Huh.
gave me the story. It was a family home that they raised their children in. The guy went to go start a church in Virginia,
Oh, wow.
and the plan was to once they got established to rent that house out. And so during the time frame, this is like 6 months where they come back to the house. It's been broken into, all the pipes have been stolen.
Oh, wow.
Somebody took the HVAC, and so they were in no position to fix
One of
it.
the
They had no money to fix it back up, so they
one of
just
the
boarded up the
benefits of those
windows.
cheap houses.
Yeah, well, these are higher purchase prices now.
Oh, okay.
So, but they boarded it up and just left it there for a couple years. So grass is up to my waist, like it's boarded up, but still definitely been graffitied on, all this stuff where I meet them out. But ARV on this house is 350, three
Oh,
sixty.
okay. There you go. You have a real
It's in a
house.
part of Durham that was turning really close to Duke University and like really hot area. And so I looked at it and I'm like, well, what do you think you take for the property? And he's like, I think I'd get off of it for 170. And and so I paused for a second and then wait and was like, well, um, if I offered you 168, would you hang up the phone on me? And then just
Wait, you
like
were on
waited.
the
I
phone
was
or you
only
were?
two. I was calling. I was talking to him.
Oh, okay.
Like he wasn't at the property. They lived in
Yeah.
Virginia, and I
I thought
just
you
went and
said you
looked at
went to
it.
the property with him,
I
but you
did. He
went to the
wasn't there.
property to
Yeah,
walk. Okay.
correct. And so it was only a $2,000 difference. 170 was already a deal. Like that's
Yeah.
at
Oh, yeah,
50%
yeah.
ARV. And so he's like, no, I'm cool there. Like, let's send over the contract. And
Which I
so,
wanted people to know from a site like how awesome that was, because it's a way for you to be like, yeah, I can do that, but without doing. Because if you would have said yes to 170, he would be been like, oh well, maybe I could have got a
maybe
little
we get
more,
more.
maybe
Yeah.
he's screwing me over, or whatever. So I hope
Hmm.
people can see what Adam did is like awesome to be like, well, I would be struggling, but I could probably get like 168. And
Hmm.
that way, even if he said no at 168, you would have been like, okay, well, you know what, I can do 170 then. But at
Hmm.
least he's thinking that he won the battle. It's
Right.
so imperative for sellers to know that they're winning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to have that buyer's remorse and they're going to be so upset afterwards.
100%. And that's why I like that line a lot. Like, I hit him with the prices like, if I offered you X, are you going to hang up the phone on me? And kind of
Yeah,
like in joking, but then he's like, yeah, that's way too low. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Glad I didn't offer it. And
right,
then make it a joke again, right? Like continue the conversation where they're not like offended by the offer because it was so
right.
much
Because
lower.
and it's not your actual offer.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out a number and see like, well, is this like, are you gonna
Yeah,
punch me in the face if I say this? Like,
yeah,
no. Like,
yeah.
okay, cool. And
Perfect.
like that's just kind of the way I build rapport with the sellers anyways, kind of keep it light and joke with them. And
Yeah.
so
That's
yeah, it
one of
worked out.
my go-tos whenever I'm talking to seller. My first objective is I have to make them laugh.
Yeah,
Like if I can make them laugh, like now I'm in control of the conversation. Like that's
totally.
one of my first things. Like I
Yeah, I love
just have
that.
to find a way to make them laugh because as soon as you can make them laugh, like now you are in so much more control.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. Yeah, so we get that one under contract. I get like the photos uploaded same day. I throw it out on Marketplace. I threw it on Facebook on one of the investor groups. I had a
do
house.
you tell your clients or your sellers sellers when you're buying these that what's your intent that you're gonna flip it? Like, do you give them the
No,
spiel
I
in
just say
case
I'm a
they
cash
see it?
buyer.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
because at the time when this one was happening, in like I said, that the ball just started rolling like right around the same time after we get that first one done.
Yeah. Well, because
That
it's
lead that
90
we were,
days.
yeah,
Yeah.
that lead we were nurturing for 9 months comes to fruition. We get that one, and that's our first flip, which is only 10 minutes away from this house.
Mm.
So we're already working on this flip, and this one I was like, we just didn't have the capital to do it, but I knew it was in a great area. And I told him like, yeah, I'm working on this house down here on this street. And he's like, oh yeah, I know this street. So I already had credibility because I was actually
Right.
working on a property. Um, but I never mentioned it. And in our assign like our paperwork, it says like this contract is assignable. And I told him like, or we've changed that verbiage now because nobody likes that assignable word,
Yeah.
where it says buyer can close in the entity of its choosing. And so it's basically just another legalese way of saying that I can assign this. And
I
if they
love that.
ask, I was like, well, we have multiple LLCs. Like if I end up holding this as a rental, I want it to be over here. If I'm going to hold it
Or
as a
if you
house that
sell
we
it to someone
invested,
else's LLC,
or
essentially. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Genius. I love that. I've never
And
heard that.
so yeah, and so we did it that way. We got it locked up, and I sold that house in 15 minutes for $49,000 assignment fee.
Wow.
Um, the next day, yeah. And so I was like, all right,
What
well
did you
now we're off and
post it
rolling.
out for?
I sent it out for two whatever. So I had it at, I think it was 168.
170. So 210
Um,
something or
yeah, I
yeah.
sent it out at 210, and then a guy that I used to take pictures for, super high volume flipper here in Raleigh,
Um,
saw it, knew my name because I
why
was
didn't
his photographer.
why didn't you think of going through your Rolodex of
I
those
just
people
I
and
didn't at the time. It was
yeah,
just
as soon
like
as you said that,
yeah,
I'm like, oh well, why aren't
yeah,
you
exactly.
already have a buyer's
I had
list?
well, I had reached out to him before, like right when I was like, "Hey, I'm getting into wholesaling. Like, give me
Yeah,
your criteria so I can, if I find something, because I know you're doing a ton of volume.
yeah,
Obviously, I shoot all your houses. Um, but I hadn't reached out to him directly about this deal, like
yeah,
building a VIPs list, which I definitely recommend any newbies. It's like guys that do a lot of volume, and even still to this day, like I probably sell the majority of our wholesale deals to 5 people. I don't
yeah.
need 150 buyers because
That's
they're the
awesome.
ones that are actually and like actually active in the business.
Mm,
And so in hindsight, I should have just went to him directly. But because he saw that I posted it in that group, he immediately came 5 grand over what I was asking and said,
Oh,
send me the
wow.
assignment right now. I'll pay you more.
Yeah.
Um, which again, it was up so high, I was like, this is a done deal, 49K. Like
Yeah.
that's
You
what
didn't
I make
care.
in a year. I'm taking that.
Yeah.
I probably could have even got more, but I was like, I'm not going to get greedy on this. Like, this
No, you
is
shouldn't.
amazing.
When you're
And so,
starting, just take the deals. Like,
yeah, 100%.
don't start to get greedy or start to do these things until you've earned the right and have the success.
Yeah, for sure. So we
Because
got that one.
you'll lose stuff. And then
Yeah.
again, like you have to think, are you willing to risk it for the
Yeah.
biscuit? That's what my brother says. I love it. Are you willing to risk it to because like cool, yeah, you can get an extra five, but what if you lose 49,000? Like, is
Yeah.
that worth no, 100% no. Like,
Right.
and if
Absolutely.
you and I've dealt with so many people like, oh my gosh, I got taken advantage so hard on the first one, or this thing happened, but they made so much money that they couldn't really yeah, they could have made another 50. Like I remember talking to one person, like, oh yeah, I made 100,000, but then someone took it and they made another 100,000 on top of it for a
They
land.
had the relationship that you didn't. They deserve
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, get out of it. A
Right.
hundred.
Get
Oh
you.
my gosh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So we closed on that deal, and that was the check that I brought home. Like I got a physical check,
Too
brought it
like,
home, and I put it as like a bookmark in her book. And I was like, yo, check it out. And she was like, okay, like now this is serious. And I was like, yeah, this is why I'm like chasing this, because these are the kind of checks we can get. And so then from there, we've just kind of been slowly scaling up, doing more wholesale deals, doing more flips, buying creatively um, in various states, and doing some other stuff. Like we're closing on a house in Knoxville, Tennessee today,
wow.
that we're building out to be like a sober living compound. It sits on an acre of land, and we can build up to 6 houses on the land. And so we're going to stabilize the first asset, refinance, and then build out all these other
Hmm.
facilities to basically make it like a community there for either assisted living or battered women or something like that, like low income housing. It's only 5 minutes from the University of Tennessee. Really cool project, and stoked to get started. But yeah, we're doing that, doing some stuff out of state, and just yeah, continuing to ramp up the flips here locally in North Carolina. And it's fun,
That's
man. It's
amazing.
cool.
So
Yeah.
let's because so now we're fast forward, you're kicking ass, you're doing all these flips. How are you managing your time?
Yeah. So like I said, I'd live and die by my schedule. And like if I could, my phone's on the ground, but if I had my Google Calendar, it's a million different colors and everything's time blocked. So
We're the exact same.
yeah. So like I normally
Mine
get
looks
up
like a
around,
rainbow. How do you
yeah,
break up your colors? Are your colors based upon like what that falls into? Real estate, family, self-help, like
yeah. So
yeah.
well, yeah, I think like actual meetings like these, or if I'm networking with other students or other investors or whatever, if they're on like I use Calendly, which is super helpful
Yeah.
to load in the schedule. Those are a specific color.
And do you at the beginning of the week say, okay, I'm going to do X% of networking. I'm going to do X% for specific things.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I kind of keep my Calendly the hours just for a
In the
certain amount of
parameters.
time, right?
Okay.
And so
So they can't go outside of that.
you can jump on a Zoom from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. or like 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. like
And
times
you
that
have
I know
one of
that I'm
those
free.
every single day.
Not every day, but like those are available if somebody jumps on there. I have calls with if I'm talking to contractors about a flip or following up with an agent about something.
Okay.
Um, and
But
then
how do you deal with the one? Because this is one thing that I even struggle with is I have a beautifully tightly packed schedule. Everything's perfect, great colors. But then, an agent needs help with this, or a rental property has this issue. It's like, cool. Now something comes up, but I've already filled up my glass all the way. How
yeah,
do you deal with those one offs? Because you're going to have to give up something. Do you just
right.
drag something to the next day? But that
For
day's
the
already
most part,
packed too.
yeah. For the most part, I try to give at least like a 2 hour block in the early afternoon from like 1 to 3, where nothing is like set in stone happening there. If it's like a networking thing, but those are one-off meetings, right?
Yeah.
But I can leave that time, that if I need to move something there for an emergency or
Okay. So
something
you
like
leave a
that, I can
buffer.
kind of, yeah, that I can throw something in really quick. And it really only pertains to calls because I'm still on site until 3:30 every day. So if
Yeah.
something has to happen where I need to be there, it either needs to be crazy early in the morning or in the afternoon when I'm not here.
Okay.
And so, and then weekends are really kind of, for the most part, off limits. If it's something like I have to do this to get this house on the market and like run it by wife and kids, like, hey, dad's going to be gone for a couple hours. I'll be back before you wake up from your nap. Um, then we'll do it that way. But I try to avoid doing those things on the weekends.
Okay.
So that's
Did-
just strictly family time.
And do you
Um,
pre-plan your whole week? Like on Saturday, Monday, you write out everything and then start. When do you
I
color
try to
coordinate
do,
your thing, or do you
yeah,
do it on a daily basis?
it's kind of like the night before. Besides the things that are automatically put in there, like
Right. The
I've got like
schedule
the
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the sub two schedule stuff. So all the Zooms that are going on, I have
Okay.
that on the calendar. I've got
Okay.
any of the meetings that have been put in on Calendly, or if I have appointments that I've already set with a senior living coordinator or a contractor or whatever, right? Like
Right.
we build those out, and normally those are weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Those are set. But then as far as like action items for the next day, I'm doing that before I go to bed. Um,
Okay.
the
So
previous
you
day.
write out what you want to do for the whole week. Like, let's say, okay, I want to call 100 people or follow up with this many leads, or I don't know what other advertising stuff. Like I want to run a new
Hmm.
ad campaign, whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
are you writing out, okay, these are all the things, this is how much time, and then on a daily basis being like, okay, which one of these do I want to bring in today? Or
Yeah. Pretty much.
because
Like I'll
some
like
of it, it's
Sunday.
not necessarily like if you're running, let's just say an ad campaign or whatever, like
Hmm.
you don't have to do that on Monday. You don't have to do it on Tuesday. You don't have to do, like, you get to
Right. You
decide
just need to
what
put it in there.
day.
Yeah.
How
Totally.
do you decide on those ones?
Yeah. So typically it's like Sunday night, like kids are asleep. I'm just chilling. Is like I'll figure out what needs to happen this week. Um, I need to call XYZ. I got to order windows for this house. I got to do this, that, and a third. And then I'll go and find those gaps in the schedule that are already there, like what you're saying. And some things I can kind of move around if needed throughout the week because, yeah, appointments will pop up or a seller will randomly call me and say, if you can come today, I'll show you the house. And then do I have capacity to even fit something in? And maybe I
Right.
don't. I need to make a call and reschedule something. So again, it's not perfect, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to start it at the week and then just kind of do like small little check-ins every day because I'm planning for the next day.
Yeah.
Just because I gotta, any time that's not accounted for is going to get wasted doing something stupid. So,
Always does. Always does.
especially
And
with so much that's got going on, right?
how do
So,
you hold yourself accountable to doing that? Like, I'm just curious your method, because like I know a lot of times me and other clients I work with, like, we'll come out with the perfect schedule, like, oh, okay, do this, like Facebook ad, do this, call these people, whatever. But then when it
mhm.
comes, you're like, oh, let me go eat. Let me
Yeah,
go.
creative
I got like,
avoidance. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And
right.
then
Yeah,
you're 20 minutes into it and you're like, well, I can't do it now. I scheduled an hour to do Facebook ads or whatever, and I've already wasted 20. Well, I
right.
may as well just not do it now. And now that
Yeah,
task doesn't get done.
yeah. Um, as far as like planning the things, I set an alarm on my phone. So, like, Sunday night, it's going off. Hey, you need to do your game plan for the week.
Mm,
So do that. As far as like that, if I'm goofing off and then I miss something, um, as far as accountability, not a ton, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
I just think I'm so highly motivated to get this business running and be able to transition to full time that that's my main focus outside of hanging out with my family is like this business will work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put in the work to make it what I want it to
I
be and
think
what I
that's what
envision
the
it to
why
be.
is
And
big
so
enough.
it's, yeah, the why is big enough,
And I
100%.
run into that a lot of people. It's like even people that won't exercise diet. It's like, dude, just let yourself go. You don't want to be fit. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with it. Stop lying to yourself. Or people are like, oh, I want to do wholesale. I'm like, cool. How many calls did you make yesterday? Well, I didn't make any. Okay, well, what happened? Nothing. Okay,
Yeah.
well, what happened the day before? Nothing. How many did you do? None. Okay,
Yep.
well, why are we doing this? Like, just be
Right.
honest. You don't want to do this. Like, are you learning to juggle? Are you learning Mandarin? Are you learning all these other things? No. Why? Because I don't want to. Is it possible that you just don't want this?
Yeah.
Because really, to me, from a psychological standpoint, it has to start with you have to want it and you have to believe it's possible. If you can have those two,
Hmm.
then you can achieve it. But if you don't want it and you don't believe it's possible, then you're not going to take the action to actually start to implement it. So,
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
man, dude, this has been so awesome. I hope people are so appreciative for how much value that you've provided by kind of breaking down like your mindset, how you're going through all these things. I'll let you get out of here because I'm sure your schedule is packed and you have other things going on. I know we're already over a little bit,
Yeah, no
but
worries. Thanks so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It was great.
no, dude, I love this stuff. Like, because I think this is what always was missing for me is it's so easy, especially in all these self development now. It's not self help, by the way.
Sure, you can't
So
help your
yeah, it's
it's a
it's
trigger word.
self development now. So
Yeah,
all these self develop, it's like just do this, just. But like to me, if you don't get into the mindset, the psychological stuff, like it's totally useless. So
sure.
um, for me personally, I'm curious. You said that your weekends are no touches, and from father
Mhm.
to father, like how do you turn it off on the weekend and be present with your children and not lose your mind? And not saying like that they annoy you because that just happens as kids, but
Right.
like I have a hard time on the weekend because I'm a doer. That if I'm
Mhm.
not doing something on the weekend, like, okay, let's go on a hike, let's go play soccer, let's go do something, like just being around the kids and just being at the house,
Mhm.
like it starts to drive me crazy because I'm like, well, if I'm not doing anything and I'm just kind of hovering here,
Mhm.
why don't I just come in my office and start working? Do you ever
Right.
run into that or have
No,
that battle? Or
not really. I mean,
okay,
I
I
don't
guess
know.
I'm
I'm
just
like we're
weird.
in such a sweet season with these little kids, right? Like everything is fun and
Do you guys go places on the weekend or you
we
just stay
do. Yeah,
home?
we'll go to the park. We'll go to, there's a little kids museum that we like to go to.
Okay.
We'll go hang out with the in-laws are close by and they always
Okay.
like going to the
Because
parks with us and stuff like
for
that. And so
me,
we
if
do
I
that.
get out of the house, it's totally
Hmm.
fine. Like mine's
Yeah,
like, but my wife actually loves, she was like, babe, I love to be home. I love to read a book. I love to watch
sure.
TV with the kids, whatever she
Yeah.
likes, because she's away from the house and away from the
Hmm.
kids all week. So
Right.
her thing is she wants to be home. Whereas
Yeah.
mine, I'm like, no, let's get out. Let's go to a park. Let's go travel. Let's go do these things. So I was
Yeah.
just
No, I
curious.
think I mean I enjoy both. I think I'm more of a homebody the older I get.
Mm,
I like staying at home and we got a pretty big yard. We can still play outside and
okay.
have fun and hang out in the little playroom and stuff. And obviously like weekends there's still a balance too in our schedule because our kids are young, they still take naps. So
Yeah.
it's not like we can be going full force all day every day going travel in the world seeing stuff like
Yeah. I
little ones
remember
still got to
that.
take a nap. They're going to have a really rough day if they're
I
just napping
remember
on
that.
mom or I'm
Okay.
carrying them around, right? And so that kind of keeps us like reins it in on what we do, but it's just like just hanging out, like even if we're just like doing a puzzle, which I hate puzzles, but if I'm doing a puzzle with my kids it's fun.
Oh yeah, it's
So
cute.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
good point. Maybe I'll get some
yeah.
puzzles. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
what
go.
about allocating time with your wife? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of this is a constant, like, there's constant room for growth, but it's more like I get home, we hang out with the kids, and it's really just me coming to support her. She stays at home. She's homeschooling our oldest.
Oh wow.
Um, and obviously the other two are still there. So Tracy's having to manage all of that, keeping the house
Yeah.
clean, doing all that stuff. Um, and she does part-time work as a content coordinator for a couple magazines. So she's doing like writes content pieces for these things, and normally that's in the evenings. But we once the kids go to bed, I mean, we try to spend a few hours together,
What
watch a
time do they
movie,
go
watch a
down?
show.
Like 7, 8?
Yeah, it's normally around 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
8:15 ish.
Okay. And then you guys have semi intentional time for what, 2 hours, an hour?
Yeah, something where we'll either watch a TV show, fold laundry together, do other chores, but just like together,
Yeah.
right? And
No phones or phones are okay? Or do you guys have any
try no
screens?
try to put phones down
Yeah.
and just have conversations, because I mean normally right when I get home and we're still debriefing from the day, I want to know what they did, they want to know what I've been working
Yeah.
on. And so that conversation just kind of flowing throughout. Then we get the kids to bed and then we'll either watch TV show or a movie or whatever. um, Play music, like she's picking up guitar. I've played guitar for many years and so
Oh,
we
that's cute.
we've just picked up another one, and so we're just kind of noodling around playing and singing songs together. And
Oh my gosh, it's
yeah, it's fun,
beautiful.
man. So
I love it.
um
What
there's
about date
definitely
nights?
times.
Do you guys have
Yeah,
date night?
we try to do at least one a month where the in-laws
Okay.
will come and hang out with the kids, and then we
Yeah.
can go. We normally go get sushi and go see a movie or just kind of go walk around a park or something, hang out, and
Okay.
nothing wild, but at least once
No.
a month. We just got back from a trip to Savannah. It was kind of a delayed anniversary trip for us. We brought the little one because he's still nursing, but
Oh, okay.
going from 3 to 1 is still a vacation. And
Oh
so,
gosh, yeah. Especially,
yeah,
well, one, they're still pretty active. So
yeah, yeah. He's
yeah,
crawling around. He's really close to walking, but
yeah.
he's a trooper. It's a 5 hour drive down there. I don't think he cried once. He was just hanging out, and so we got to explore the town, and that was really good quality time that we could kind of reconnect and hang. So, um, there's certain times where it's just more busy than normal, and I'm driving around in the middle of the night and stuff because obviously my capacity is limited during the day with my day job. And it's kind of like this sucks for the moment until I can get this house sold or whatever, but we know this isn't normal, right? I'm
Right.
not trying to consistently get home at 10 o'clock at night and not see you and the kids. Like I want to, and that's kind of where we've gotten to is like Monday. Monday is my day to work on houses. So I go to my day job, work all day, and immediately from when I leave until whenever the thing needs to be done. That could be
Okay.
2 in the morning. Like everyone knows dad's not coming home. You won't see him until tomorrow. And that's when I go visit my flips, check on my contractors, have partner meetings, like go grab dinner with them, try to do my other networking stuff. If I'm meeting somebody else and we're going to grab a drink or something, we do that on Monday. And that's
Okay.
my totally focused on real estate day.
Yeah.
Everything else is like kind of by appointment only if it fits the schedule, if I need to
Right.
go somewhere. And it's not taking the space of something else that's more important with either the family or some other thing that we've got planned with church stuff or whatever. And that's just kind of what's worked for us for the time being. And so just
That's
setting
awesome.
those boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so amazing of everything that you've done and accomplished while maintaining those boundaries.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, bro, I got one last question and then actually a couple, but what's the best advice you can give to someone that's wanting to get to where you're at?
Mm, I think just 1% better every day, right? Like never stop moving. And I think like there's no losses, it's just lessons in this
Love.
business,
That's it.
right?
That's
Like if
life.
you
That's
it's
life.
gonna right, if you can get to that headspace that
Yeah.
yeah, things suck, but
They're supposed to.
they're right, exactly. If this business was easy, everybody would do it. And
And
really
not even that,
in
you
any
wouldn't
business,
learn.
right?
You would
Yeah,
my go-to is always like breathing. Everyone takes it for granted, but without
sure.
breath, there's death. Like the
Yeah,
one thing that literally keeps you alive, no one cares about it until you can't have it. So
yeah,
I think God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, set it up this way that you have to earn these things and learn these things. Otherwise, you would take it for granted. He knew that we'd be
yeah,
so lazy and whatever. He's like, okay, I know you guys, I just have to make it automatic for you to breathe and your heart to work, all that, because you guys
right.
wouldn't care.
Yeah,
But everything else, like it's a gift that you get to figure it
sure.
out and learn it. Because if
Totally.
I just gave it to you, you wouldn't care.
Yeah. No, 100%. And getting to that place, like being comfortable, being uncomfortable, as like
Yeah.
cliche as that is, but like it's true. Like that's where the growth is.
Yeah.
And so if you can go and find those situations where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing the thing anyways, like that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to grow. And so then the next time that situation comes up, you're prepared. You're already better
You
than
have
you
a
were.
tolerance. Well, and what
Right.
I love about your journey is what's so cool is it doesn't sound like you're waking up early in the morning. You're not doing cold showers. You're not doing all the stereotype, I do hard things sort of
Right.
thing to be successful. Like you're
Yeah.
just doing the necessary things. Because I
Yeah.
see so many people get it flipped of like, I'm taking the cold showers. I'm doing like cool, but what are you doing for your actual business? Like
Right.
that's what
Imperfect
you
action. That's
need
what
to
it
be
takes.
doing.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Yeah. Just
okay, bro,
massive imperfect action.
let me get you out of here. For anyone that's listening that they want to connect, what is it that you guys are looking for inside your business? You can say, what kind of deals you're looking for, or if you guys are needing help with acquisition managers, what is it that you guys are looking for that someone that's watching this that wants to reach out?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, we definitely are always looking for new people to bring on to our appointment setter team. If you're brand new and want to get into this business, have somebody kind of look over your shoulder, can definitely come on board. We do bi-weekly Zoom calls where we kind of break down the business, teach each other how to better underwrite, better comp, do all kinds of stuff so you can learn while you're earning, right? You're
And
basically joining a team where somebody can make sure that they're holding your hand and teaching you everything. Like the lessons that I've learned on my journey, I can share those with you so it can shorten your timeline to a deal. So you're not
is there
spinning your
any
wheels for 8 months.
requirements that you want? Like, okay, you have to have this many hours available, this many
Not
days,
really.
this is how
So
consistent we need you to be, or is it
yeah.
just, hey, I got an hour every week. That's good enough.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. I mean, because this is a commission only position, obviously, if you're not making calls, you're not making any money. And so I'll provide the systems and data to you, but it's really this position could be whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
And there's
Okay.
room for growth. There's no non-compete, there's no NDA, anything like that. Like I'm here to provide value. I'm in return getting value from you for bringing more leads to us. Another thing, we're always looking for additional capital partners with the leads or the flips that we're doing. We're continuing to scale, and it's a great problem to have, but I have more deals in my pipeline than capital at the moment. And so if
So,
you're looking to
or
find somewhere,
what if you were looking for someone that specializes in raising capital? Would you want
yeah,
them to reach out to
100%.
you?
Yeah, 100% looking for connectors. Any way that I can bring value to you, vice versa. Like a rising tide raises all boats, right? And that's what I'm looking to do, is just find other people to bring into my network. If I can bring value to you and you bring value to me, amazing. Like let's all make money together. I think my number is here, but I'll say it if you can't read it on the screen. It's 919-353-4231. You shoot me a text, say that you saw me on Creighton's podcast, and we can go from there. Even if you don't want to join the team, but if you just need help comping, if you need help with dispo in North Carolina specifically, or just want to chop it up, like I'm happy to talk to anybody and provide as much value as I can.
I hope you guys take him up on that. Like just the one time that we connected, I was like, man, this guy's so kind and giving. So, oh, I do need to reconnect with you. My sister reached out to that contractor and the number was
Yeah, how'd it go?
disconnected. The
Oh,
number was
really?
disconnected. Yeah.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna reach back out to you, see if you have a
Yeah,
number.
for sure. Yeah,
So she just
absolutely.
bought, speaking of what it's like over in your guys' market, she just bought this mini mansion. It's like 5,600. She's like, oh, I just bought a house. She was moved from Boston.
Yeah.
So living in like a little thing in Boston, she's like, oh, I just bought a place in wherever I said Wilmington.
Wilmington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, oh, I just bought a little house in Wilmington. And I was like, oh, she sent me the listing. 5,600 square foot house
That's
on
wild. That's a
on
huge house.
a 1.3 acre lot,
Wow.
because like it's still cheaper than what she was paying
Oh
on
yeah. She was in
her
Boston,
apartment in
absolutely.
Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like
Crazy.
700,000 or something.
Wow.
Like that gets you like a 2 bedroom house here in Seattle.
Yeah.
We were trying to get her to move here, but
Crazy.
you guys won. So
There you go. Well, now
but
you have an excuse to come out. I'll meet you down there. We'll
dude,
go to the
yeah,
beach.
I definitely will. My sister lives over there as well. How far is that from you?
It's about an hour and a half to get to
Oh, okay.
Wilmington,
Okay.
maybe
Yeah, we'll
two.
figure something out.
But yeah,
All right,
for
bro.
sure.
I'll let you get out of here.
Sweet.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, you and your
Same to
amazing
you, bro.
family.
I
Thank you for
appreciate it.
everything you do, man.
Yeah.
We'll talk to
Thanks,
you later.
Creighton. See you
All right.
guys.
Later.